So with our lovely Miss Ruby, oh, look at you being so smart. We're going to warm up a little bit with going to our place and working a bit with that stay exercise again. She and her classmates have been doing a really nice job going to their place or bed exercises. So this can be really, again, beneficial for helping a pup that doesn't always quite know how to simmer. Give them moments to take little breathers. And then that way you can start to build in this concept of taking a break. For a lot of teenagers, they still need a good chunk of rest. So for puppies around her age group, I would recommend still about 16 to 18 hours if you can. For some puppies, you could do a little less. For others, you might need a little more. For really young puppies under 6 months, normally it's more closer to 18 to 20 hours of good rest throughout the 24-hour period. So remember that if sometimes training or skill set or behavior is not going in the direction you were hoping, a lot of times lack of good quality sleep and downtime is a big factor to that. Even for example, reactivity or anxiety and aggression, a lot of dogs that are very anxious or overwhelmed do not get enough rest, and therefore things are even harder for them too. Nice, great job. So right now I haven't applied my stay. I've just been going ahead and feeding for her, targeting the cot and building up value in that place. So when she gets off of it, there's no goodies given. I want her to think the best part of it is for going and targeting the spot. Nice. So you may find too, is if you want to pick a slogan for it, just make sure it's something that stays consistent for you guys. So with my guys, they have typically like a bed would be dog bed or cot or some sort of target like that. And then for their other environment, which could be for bedtime or other rest periods or travel, would be like their crate. So you will, again, want to keep slogans distinct. So you don't have one behavior or sort of one word for one, I can't talk today. You don't want to have one, let's say, word for many different behaviors. There we go. So with your gorgeous gal, we might again go bed, and then feed her for that placement. If we're gonna throw in a bit with stay again, stay should be again, whatever hand signal, but I normally use an open palm like stop sign stay. So I might go stay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and keep her there for like a couple seconds and then feed throughout the duration of being in the stay. So if she found this really challenging, we have been building in some, different distractions, and there's noises in the building at times. So your main goal though, we dropped it out of that slimy face that happens, is think about breaking it down into multiple smaller steps. So if right now holding her place behavior in a sit is hard enough, we don't want to throw in tons of distractions or difficulty in the sense of movement and distance when she can barely handle the time frame. So right now I'm feeding her kind of a little bit more rapid fire to, again, from her perspective, build in value in being stuck. So we always want to think about stay as in like freeze tag with room service. If the puppy breaks, she's not in trouble, but we would restart the behavior. So we might tell her again to stay. This time I'm not going to feed her for one time she goes back on, but now for holding the behavior for a few seconds. She's like, my brain has melted. It's so tiring. So right here, I'm going to feed maybe one more little rep, and then I'm going to end the stay for her. So again, I would feed her last little snack. I'd tell her all done, and then we'd get up and wiggle, but there would be no food given for leaving. So we're trying to build up value for our gorgeous gal, that all the best stuff happens when we're stuck. She's like, guys, this is very exhausting. She's been doing a very nice job doing some play. So she's winded because they got to play a little extra today. So I maybe went over. Normally I do about an hour or so of play in the very beginning of their stay. And then typically around like 10:30, they go in for their little breaks, and then we rotate to the playmates and potty breaks and filming. So, but then they do sometimes also have little bits of wrestle in the middle of the day as well, and at the end. Nice. So giving her a little breather with some movement can be also very helpful in between practicing stationary positions. So right here, working a bit with these spine dits, it's a great way for Miss R to get up, wiggle, stretch her legs, and then be able to get some of that maybe excitement or, nerves or frustration out, and then bring her back into maybe the bed, and then work again with the stay. So this way you could kind of help your puppy be successful, because remember, for most puppies, being stationary might be like the dumbest thing you've ever asked them to do. So we want to, again, help them be successful in being stationary. It's really pretty. She's a cutie patootie. So obviously at home, where she might even feel more comfortable, you may be able to work a stay and loop around your little island in the kitchen and then go back and reinforce her for not moving. For some of the babes, they might even be able to like have the family member go out of range, let's say around the corner, and then poke back out and feed them for not moving. But remember, place or your bed or spot behaviors should not be a form of punishment. So if you're finding that your babe is getting into mischief and they're having a hard time with something, view it more like a small human, like a toddler. You can't get mad at them if, for example, their developmental stage does not understand or comprehend what you're asking them to do, let alone their understanding of like what could harm them. So your best bet is to, if you cannot supervise your puppy to the extent that might prevent rehearsal of behavior or prevent damage or house training trouble, I would recommend to regulate where and how far in the environments they can go. And then that can be very helpful because preventing the rehearsal of the failures, which from their perspective could be fun or something else to do, but from our perspective, like they're chewing on the kid's toy or they're jumping up on the counters. Oh, this is really pretty. So you may have moments where by mistake, by allowing too much wiggle room, we create confusion. So if your pup has been working with a place behavior and now you're getting annoyed with them and you're asking them out of, let's say a grumpy stance to go to their spot, you may start to poison the skill and or the food as well, because this now has become something that's overwhelming, scary, or the bringer of the bad. So I would recommend when you're working with place and working with your stays is that if you're having a moment where you're not feeling it, just give your dog something else to do or give them a break in a safe spot and just walk away. So it's kind of almost like when you bring home a little baby, if you're having a really hard time and feeling really stressed out, it's okay to put the baby down and ask for help or move away for a moment and then come back when you're feeling a little bit better. I'm not saying to leave them alone forever, but for some folks, it can be very beneficial to pause and take a moment to then come back again when you're able. Nice. Because we as people, I feel we tend to be very emotional, which is fine. But at times it can be challenging for the dog to understand why we are so upset. Because I always think of them as furry little exchange students, and they don't know what to expect from us verbally, culturally, or physically. So if we think about our puppies as not really understanding, we might have to show them what we prefer versus scolding and scaring. And again, I'm not saying this is what we're doing with our gorgeous gal, but I just want to make sure that that we're building comfort and confidence and resilience, and therefore even a more reliable adult dog for down the road. So this is very pretty. So I love the fact that she went and relaxed while I was blabbing and chatting. Really nice. So I'm going to feed her maybe one more little morsel, and then we're going to end this one and give her a little breather. So I do like to choose a release word for my stay. So for my guys, it's all done. Some people might prefer free time, release, all set. You can get as creative as you'd like. I stay away from okay because we say it a lot. So we might say okay to this or okay to that, but maybe we didn't want the dog to break or we didn't want the dog to jump out of the car. So I would highly recommend for stay, think of a slogan you'd like. I normally go all done, and then we get up and we break from our spot. But there's no food given for the release. It's only given while she's in the position. So maybe if you're going to be working another little skill, you could then feed for a sitting position, a check-in. Maybe you go in from here into a find it to give some of those movement moments, and then see if we can bring her back to the bed behavior and work some more with that stay. Nice job, cutie. But I want to see if we can try something a little bit new. I have a hula. Don't know if she's going to rock it, and that's okay. If she thinks it's a bit spooky, we don't have to rush it. So again, I know we discussed a little bit about novelty and how introducing something new can be really great for your pups going into adolescence as well. So if Miss R has no idea what the heck this is, I think we at one point maybe busted out some hulas in maybe one of the classes, but it could be spacing. So if, for example, this is very new to her, I sometimes just like to hold, she's like, watch that. I like to just hold the inanimate object and just have it be hanging out. Yes, nice job. And just do fun things near it. So we don't want to force her to come near the thing if she finds it spooky. So remember, if your dog deems something overwhelming and you either lure them over or force them through it, it's not going to typically build resilience. It's going to typically create trauma or more fear or anxiety around that situation, person, environment, or thing. So if, let's say, she thought this was really spooky and I'm making her choose between feeling safe and getting food, she may get closer because there's food involved, but had there been no food, she would have never gotten so close. So we could ruin our food, where food could be the precursor to doing something really scary. And then that's a great way to ruin food for later, which is not going to be helpful if you ever deal with struggles or difficulties with the babes down the road. Two, we could also ruin a cue, like we mentioned, place and, working your spot, or stay position there could turn negative if we're constantly, for example, getting angry and then forcing them into the stay position. And then stay could equal the bringer of here comes some more bad moments. So if, let's say, my little lady has never really rocked a hula, oh, smart girl, I'm going to go ahead and just have her check it out and do maybe some feeding in and around it. If she thought it was really peculiar, she maybe wouldn't feel this comfortable to go ahead and even stationary place herself in the middle. You guys may also find, oh my gosh, chew them, ma'am. Hulas can also be something fun to plop out in the yard and use them sometimes to walk into, move around them. You might pick it up and then you do some jumping through it. We've got our cool train going by. I'll maybe move the bed so it's not in the way. 1 second, ma'am. She was like, no, I was going to go on it. So we have a lot of great noises, from the trains to the airplanes to everything. Ready? We'll do another little find it. So what we're going to try with my little lady is, while it's up, I'm going to maybe just do some find its around it. Maybe if she's interested, she could walk through the item. So sometimes I might throw some food and have her just kind of find it on the opposite end. You'll see that right now it's not raised, so it's low to the floor. I'm not picking it up, so it doesn't become too challenging. If she prefers to go a certain direction, she's like, how about around it? So if you ever get some of those moments where she's a little bit unsure, so notice how now she's a little bit uncomfortable with the hula, which is fine. So I'm not going to rush the steps. I may even put it down for a second. There you go, ma'am. Good job. So remember how I mentioned shaping? So shaping could be also building up on the bigger skill, but with littler steps. So if, let's say, she thinks it's a bit peculiar, we might do some find its in and around the hula and just have it be an inanimate object. Nice. Good girl. Ready? Find it. So we might try, again, no big deal. She's like, that's weird. You can see the hesitation. So if she's not sure, I'm just going to feed for this lovely little sitting. So I'm not going to force it. So if she thinks it's a bit peculiar, I don't want her to think that the hula standing up is now magically going to be more dangerous than when it was laying down. So when you throw a novelty for your babe, be it puppy to teenager to adult dog, I would recommend that you're watching their body language. So a lot of times as dogs become more unsure, her respiration is going fast anyway because she's been running around doing find its and playing right before filming. Excuse me. But if, for example, your puppy's tail is really tucked, their legs start to pull away, those are typically signs that your babe is very hesitant and nervous. So if you're ever unsure about what your dog might be telling you through their body language, that would be something I would highly recommend to get more comfortable with. Because if you don't quite know what they're saying throughout their everyday ordeal, how are we going to help them when things become scary or challenging in other situations? So it can also be really great for while you're training or working skills. Does the puppy look like they're feeling safe and comfortable? And if not, then the training session may not even be attainable or something that will stick. So the ability to retain that material might be right out the window. So if she's not a huge fan, she did go through it like once or twice. So trying something new does not always have to be the prettiest thing you've ever done every time. So she finds it much more fun to go stepping into the hula on the floor. So, but remember, every little bit can be the beginning stage to something bigger later. So don't feel it has to be the most beautiful thing you've ever done from the starting point. Because if you think about, even professional athletes or an artist or whatever, something that involves some sort of skill, most people might have, again, something they have to work towards to build up that skill. There are, of course, some folks that are very artistic and it came very natural to them, but practice does help. So just like with our dogs, if they haven't really done these things in the past, or they're very novel to them and they haven't really rehearsed them, their resilience for that skill may not be to the level we were hoping. Nice job. What a smart girl. So ready? We might do a little bit back into our little hula. Yes, nice job. So maybe it starts off with hula practice on the floor, and then we build up to it. Good job, cutie. But for our lovely Miss R, for next steps, I wouldn't say that you have to, again, keep rocking the day school. If you find structured play fits your schedule well, which is where she's, again, playing and having some good time with her buddies. The other option is, I know we have one of Sam's confidence building classes coming up in another couple more weeks. I think I pushed out 2 weeks. So that's on Thursday evenings at 6. But no pressure. You can always take a break for the summertime, see how things are going, keep me updated. But for Miss R, we're probably going to call it a day for the gorgeous gal. She did a really nice job with all of her skills. Ready, cutie? We'll do another little find it. But you guys can always check in with questions or concerns. But Miss R did stellar. It's very nice.